Hello and welcome to healthyhouseplants.com, where we teach you all about gardening in the great indoors. If you'd like to support our show, please use our Amazon affiliate link below. Today I have a viewer-inspired video, and this video is for AM, who recently asked, would you mind explaining how, where, when to prune the Red Luna, so the Peperomia Caperata Red Luna, this plant, which is native to Brazil. Okay, I do have care videos on the peperomias. I will link below for that and any of the videos I mentioned in this video. This one is about to answer AM's question about how, where, and when to prune them. First of all, just a general overview about pruning house plants, and this applies to just about any house plant. When you do prune houseplants, don't prune out more than 1/3 of the plant of foliage at one time. If you do that, you can shock the plant. You can also make the plant way too small for its pot, and that can lead to root rot as well. So keep that in mind. 1/4, 1/3 at a time when you do prune. Okay. So when to prune as well. It's best to prune plants when they're actively growing during their active growing season, which is usually late winter through mid-summer. And you can even go into late summer as well. Best generally not to do it in the winter months. I am going to do a little pruning on this guy even though it is the winter months, so I can do this video for one thing. And also I am in Southern California and it is February now and we tend to start to warm up already, although we can also get a cold spell later. So I'm not going to do a lot of pruning, but I'm going to do enough and talk about it enough so you get a really good idea of how to prune the Red Luna. Okay. So you know the when, and now the how and where. Okay, so a good thing to keep in mind with the Red Luna is you prune them, the pruning for them is very similar to the pruning of African violets. They tend to grow similarly to African violets, and I do have videos on pruning African violets as well, which I will link to as well for further info. Okay, so how they grow from the crown of the plant. That's where all the new growth is coming from. So I'm going to get a little closer up here for you so you can see that. Okay, so you can see this right there. There's a little growth. There's new growth. That's new growth in there. So, and you can see, if you look close here and try to show you here, there's little baby leaves in here and there in here. They're a lot smaller. Okay, so I found one right here. Trying to show you here. It's a little hard because of the redness in here, but putting my finger underneath it. So see that little baby? That is coming from the crown, which the crown is the part of the plant that where the new growth comes from on a plant, and it is the part of the plant that is attached to the roots. Okay, so these plants grow from the crown. What they do is the newer foliage, and you can see how the newer foliage is in here. The newer foliage comes out from the crown, and then it tends to get, the leaves will get bigger, and then they tend to move outwards like these older leaves here, and then you continue to get new growth in the crown. So in order to continue to get really healthy new growth in that crown, besides growing the plants properly in your indoor garden, you do want to prune them occasionally. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to look at them in terms of how symmetrical. You want to keep them symmetrical. As I mentioned, it's the same thing that you do with African violets. And when you prune them, you want to prune on the outside. I'm going to go out a little bit here now so you can get a better look on that. So you can see this plant, there's some leaves sticking out here and there. It's not exactly symmetrical, so I'm going to work on that. The first thing you want to do when you prune this plant and any plant is you want to prune out dead foliage. Okay, so here is one that came out very easily. There's another one here. You will see that these are the ones that are coming from the outside of the plant as well. So that is your first, as mentioned, thing. You can, on this plant, you can usually gently tug. If it comes right off, that's great. If not, use some really good sharp pruners and go in and you cut at the base of the plant. That's where you cut them. You cut out the stems at the base of the plant. Be careful, however, you do not cut into the base of the plant, that you don't cut into the crown, because that is the base of the plant, because that can harm the plant. It can, the plant can get diseased at that point, and it's not good. So be very careful. You know, within 1/8 of an inch or so, you can leave a little bit of the stem on there. Okay, so I'm cleaning out a little bit more here. Okay, now we've gotten that out. So what you want to look for now is leaves that are jutting out and aren't making this nice round form, and also leaves that look a little old, they're a little faded, they're maybe a little bit yellowy. Those are mature leaves that are on their way out anyway, so you might as well get rid of them. So we've got this one here, right here. This one is a real good example of what I'm talking about here. So you can see how this one's kind of hanging there, and also it's a little on the yellowy side. You can tell that it's starting to yellow. It is starting to cut. It's going to eventually come off here on its own or close like these were, but it's better to get it off now, because when you do prune out here, it initiates more growth in the crown, and you continue the cycle of new ones coming out, getting bigger, making a nice rounded form, and then babies growing in the center again. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that one there, and as mentioned, I am going to cut down all the way to the base of the plant. You want to be very careful, as mentioned, and also when you're pruning a plant, and here you go, see, this is the one that I took off. You can see that it's done. You can propagate these leaves like you can African violet leaves, but you would want to do it with fresh, newer leaves, not the old ones like this. Okay. So backing up a bit, I was mentioning, anytime you're pruning, don't be in a hurry. If you're in a hurry, wait until you have time to prune, because pruning is not something you want to whip through. Remember, once you cut off stems, you cut off leaves, you will no longer, you can't get them back on. You can't glue them back on. So pruning is something you want to go very slowly with, very judiciously with. Check the plant out as you're going. That's why I have it up on this thing here, so that I can kind of move it around and get a really good view of it as I work. So just be very careful, as mentioned. Okay, so here I'm going to do it again, and we can get a pretty good look at this one as I do this. And I'm cutting it just next to the crown, but not all the way down. So I took that one out, and that one was starting to fade a bit, and also it just wasn't working for me in terms of this nice rounded look to it. So you continue on like this, slowly but surely, taking out the older foliage on the outer part. Also, if there's any leaves that are crossing each other, on top of each other, you want to take one of them off. You can see we have a little bit of in here. There is a little bit of one on top of the other kind of a thing going on here. And as you go, think about how the plant is going to grow. So if that leaf gets bigger, where is that leaf going to end up? Is it going to be hanging over here? Is it going to be in the way of this other pretty leaf? So those are the sorts of things you can think through as you go, and as you go slowly, you can think more clearly about that, right? So here, and I'm going to turn it around so I can get a good look, as I mentioned, this one underneath here is kind of in the way. However, I just noticed, and this is another thing you can look for, damaged foliage as well. This one has a little bit of a hole in it, and there's a little bit of a somewhere where some of the leaf came out there. Now, it's not the end of the world if you don't need to take that out, but we have a little bit of things crowding in here anyway. So I am going to take that out because one of the things that will happen with leaves that have been damaged is eventually they will brown. They will brown more quickly, they will die off more quickly, and they will just kind of not look as good because they will get that more brown and start to deteriorate. So I'm going to take that one out. And as I take that one out, now I can re-examine, and here it is, whoops. Now I can re-examine that area that was more crowded, and now it's not as crowded anymore, so I don't think I need to take any more out of there. Okay, so we've got this one under, and we've got a couple crossers here. These two are crossing each other right there. You can see them two here. They're actually, the stems themselves are crossing, and they probably won't uncross. So that could be one that would make sense for me to take off. So what you want to do in that case is you would examine it and look for the leaf that's not as pretty or as vibrant as the other. I am taking off the one on the top there. So I just took that one off. So you can see we're clearing things up for new growth in the center and working on making it more symmetrical. And you would go slowly. Oh, I just knocked one off. So this is what I was talking about, being careful. I did knock that one off. Actually came off pretty quickly, so it is a little bit on the faded side. So this is what you do. You work slowly until you get the plant into a better, more rounded, more pleasing shape. So it's really all about what pleases you, what looks good to you, and what is healthy as well as for the plant. Because when leaves are on top of each other, it's not that healthy. You can tend to get fungal things going on between those leaves, so that's another consideration as well. And so that's a good start there for this. Probably do a little bit more. This one here is kind of sticking way out there, so I'm going to take that one off, and I think that'll give it a little bit more of a pleasing look there. Now it's not going to be perfect, and that's another really good in terms of that symmetry and roundness. And however, that's another good reason to go slowly. So a month from now, I can look at it again and do some more, and do some more. Maybe the areas that need to fill in a little bit, then I can also go ahead and get them everything more evenly spaced at that time as well. So there you go for how to prune this beautiful Red Luna, Peperomia Caperata Red Luna. Thank you for stopping by today. Please leave any comments about any indoor gardening tutorials you'd like to see. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. And please check the bell if you'd like to be notified when new videos are released.